Hello and welcome back to another session of Relax with Watercolors. It's October, and in today's session I would love to use October or fall inspired colors. Even though here in Hawaii the seasons don't change as much as in other places in the world, we do have certain plants, for example, that grow in the fall season or bloom in the fall season. For example, these heliconia. And there's also the coffee plants and the coffee cherries that are red and ready to be picked right now. So coffee picking season over at our little coffee farm is in full swing. Back to our project. Inspired by the colors of our coffee farm and the heliconia plants, I have chosen my color palette today. These are my own handmade Aloha watercolors, but you can use any colors, any watercolor paints you have at hand. If you want to use Aloha watercolors, I'm going to just quickly tell you the names. So this red one, medium crimson red, is heliconia. I have synthetic indigo called Storm. Oh, excuse me, this is actually my Payne's Gray mix called Storm. Then I have buff titanium white, vanilla. This one's called Pumpkin, and it is a shimmer orange. Next we have this Ercolano red, which is called Koa. I have Magic Bean, that's another shimmer, it's a brown shimmer. And I have Dark Roast, which is a Caput Mortuum. You can see the colors here. So this is kind of the project we're doing today, just bigger. I am using Khadi paper. So this is 100% cotton paper made from recycled fabrics. And I have a large Quill or mop brush. It's from Jackson's. It's a size 2, and I have to say different makers or different brands use different sizing for their Quill brushes. So this is a rather large brush because I really want to get into the flow and not, pay too much attention to the details. And I also want to create some blends. So I find it helpful to use a mop brush because it holds so much water. There are two ways you can do this exercise. You can first draw in your circles, or in this case the semicircles, with water. And then once you're done with that, you can fill each circle or semicircle with color, or you can just go straight in with the color. So in this example here, I'm demonstrating laying down the water first and then picking up some paint and just dropping it into the circle. I'd say the advantage of this method is that you can have a bit more control over the shape of your circle when you just lay down with water first, and you can correct your shape. But as I said in the beginning, I would love for you to not think too much about getting the shape right, in quotation mark, but rather just try to get a circle-like shape. Not too perfect, just lay them down there. And really mostly focus on watching the paints flow and melt into each other. So I'm going through all the colors here in my palette, and I'm rinsing out my brush in between colors. I forgot to mention that I laid down a piece of paper towel underneath the page because I'm going so close to the edge and I don't want my paint to go, on my desk or on the other page in my sketchbook. I still have the same orange shimmer color on my brush, And now I'm going to demonstrate the other technique, which is basically just wet on dry, where you can just go directly on the paper with your color. And you can either have the circle shape by itself, not touching the other circle, or you can slowly approach the other circle and have the two colors blend, which is what I usually do, and I really like having my colors blend like this. I'm moving on to my next color, Magic Bean, which is a brown shimmer, and painting in my next circle. So for my exercise, I am trying to keep the circles in one line, but please feel free to distribute your circles across the page in however way you want them to be. You know, you can also do bigger and smaller circles. I'm rinsing out my brush and moving over to the next color. This is the dark roast, a really lush dark brown, Caput Mortuum. So the fun fact about this color is that the way they created it in the past, way past, is from ancient Egyptian mummies. I'm not kidding. It's like apparently it's how this pigment was created. So don't ask me about the exact way they did it. And I am happy to say that these days this pigment is made synthetically, so no mummies were harmed in the process. I'm going back to my Heliconia medium crimson red. And another tip is to vary the amount of pigment you pick up with your brush and put on the paper, so you can make circles that are more translucent like this one here, or you can make them more opaque and create some variety in your circles this way. So in today's session, I'm doing the left side of the page of my double spread first. When I did this exercise for the first time, I just went all across the page. But for filming purposes, it's a bit easier for me to do just the left side first and then the right hand side. But again, please just proceed in the way that is most relaxing and comforting for you. And as you can see, I tend to go ahead and not paint my circles first, but really just pick up my paint and draw in my circle. And there's another thing that I like to observe when I do this exercise is that the more circles I paint, the looser my strokes get. So in the beginning, my circles were painted with more strokes and a bit more diligent, and now I'm kind of going in and using less strokes, pressing down less hard. And this is pretty much exactly what I would love for you to experience as well. Just become more loose in the course of this exercise. And if you really enjoy these blends, you can even force them by pushing the pigment into the other circle like this. Or you can just have less water on your brush. And this way, keep the circles more to themselves. If you don't want any blends, then of course you can just paint the circles and leave a little bit of paper in between the circles. But honestly, I think the beauty of this exercise is to just watch these colors blend. At least for me, it's probably the most fun part of this exercise. Let's see. Let's go for the dark roast. This pigment is very opaque, so it doesn't take a lot of pigment to create a really strong color. And as is true for all opaque watercolors, if you want a more translucent look, you just have to work with more water than you would if you had a paint that is already translucent. So, for example, all the phthalo greens are very translucent in nature. So you would not need as much water to make the paint appear translucent on the paper. I am mopping up some water from my brush. I'm just picking up a little bit of this paint that pooled in the crease of my sketchbook, just to prevent the paint from seeping through and contaminating my other pages. And if you want to avoid this problem completely, of course you can plan out your circles a bit more so they don't go over the crease. I'm going to continue adding circles all across the page, and I'm going to put on some music for you to watch and relax. And this is what the piece looks like when it's completely dry. I just love these beautiful blends and washes and how the colors mix. I have recently painted another version of this exercise, and for me it's really interesting to see the differences. So I can tell just from looking at this that I painted this way more quickly, and for example in these two circles I basically just took the brush and did a quick circle for these ones. Whereas in today's session I was a bit more diligent and careful with the circles, which of course is also due to the fact that I'm teaching this tutorial. So the style or the way I paint changes depending on my mood, depending on the day, whether or not I'm talking while I'm painting. But just so for you to know that not every page is gonna come out the same. Your circles might end up looking a bit wonkier on one day and maybe a bit more round on the other day. Just go easy on yourself. This exercise really is there for you to relax, to enjoy your watercolor paints. If you enjoyed this painting session today, you might also like another video, another Relax with Watercolors video, and I'll put a card up here in case you'd like to check it out. Happy creating! I'll see you in the next video. and aloha!